I have an incredibly exciting video this week because I am reviewing a product that has actually been on my most wanted list for quite some time. Those of you who saw my end of year awards video, there was a section at the end of that video where I asked you guys what products you would most like to see on the channel in 2024. Far and away, the biggest, most common suggestion I had off the back of that was this bad boy, the neuraldsp Quad Cortex. And I'm pleased to say that I now have one with me. I have spent a good amount of time getting to know the ins and outs of this unit. And what I would like to do with this video is I would like to take a look at this unit as it currently stands right now, this year, at the time of making it. And what I would like to do is look at whether it's worth the price point that they are currently asking. Now, who do I have to thank for the opportunity to review this unit? Well, it's none other than Big Fish Rentals, located in Manchester. I have paid to hire this unit out of my own money to ensure an unbiased review, but Big Fish Rentals were kind enough to look after me, get it shipped down to me at quite short notice, so big thank you to them. Now back to the question at hand, is the neuraldsp Quad Cortex currently worth the money? Well, first of all, the money is about 1,500 quid. That's what this thing retails for in the UK at the moment. That actually makes it the second most expensive guitar modeler that you can currently buy. It's second only to the Fractal Audio Axe Effects, so they are asking top drawer money for this product. Now, what are you getting by spending that extra chunk of change, especially considering that at the time of doing this video, for 1,000 quid, you can get your pick of a Line 6 Helix floor, a Kemper, especially if you're buying used, you can get an incredible piece of gear. So some of the things you're getting for this extra chunk of change are brilliant. And in a moment, I'm going to go through all the good things this unit is doing for that extra chunk of money. Equally though, there are some things I've identified that, in my opinion, are not really befitting of a product at the top of the price bracket in its class. First of all, you are throwing down your 1,500 quid. What are the good things this unit is doing that the competition at a cheaper price point simply are not doing? Well, first of all, let's talk about UI and user experience. This is a touchscreen product. I would describe the user interface on this unit as something like a cross between the Line 6 Helix in terms of the way the signal chain is laid out, and also one of the Headrush products in terms of having good drag and drop touchscreen functionality. It functions in the way that a modern smartphone or tablet would do, so it feels very natural to use. A unique feature of this that none of the competition can currently boast is that the foot switches on this unit also double up as rotary encoders. So every foot switch on this thing is also a rotary knob. Now, I wasn't sure if this was going to be some type of gimmick, maybe something that is a fancy sort of party trick that you're never really going to use. For example, like the touch sensitive foot switches on the Line 6 Helix. Does anybody use them? I never did. Anyway, what I can tell you is the rotary knobs on this thing that form the foot switches are fantastic, and I've actually, as second nature now, started to use them every single time I edit an effects block. They are so much quicker than using a touchscreen to turn a parameter. Build quality wise, you could argue they have added a potential point of failure there by making a foot switch double up as a rotary knob. But I can only tell you, in my experience so far, the build quality feels superb. So overall, UI, user experience, fantastic. One of the best I've used. Something else on this unit that I have to say is the best I have used anywhere is the cabinet editor. When you add a cabinet block on this, you are presented with a fantastic array of customization options, and they're presented in such a way that they are really intuitive to use. Now, those of you who've used, for example, a Fractal product, you can just be menued to death with that thing. There is so many deep parameters you can change on amp models, on cabinet sims. The way they've done the cabinet blocks in this is the best I've ever used. You're basically given the option to blend different cabinet IRs together. You're given the option to blend different microphones together, but you're also able to free adjust the position of those microphones on either of the cabinets you're using. So whilst building presets with this thing, like I've been doing for the past week, there was never a time where I couldn't get a sound I wanted by using the built-in cabinet emulation. Now, I have to tell you, that is such a rare thing. 9 times out of 10 when I get a new modeling product, I try the built-in cabinet sims and IRs, and within an hour I am just back to loading in the 2 or 3 IRs that I go to all the time for all of my modeled sounds. But on this thing, I was able to get sounds I was happy with, and I was also able to get them really quite quickly. By spending that extra bit of money, you are also getting class-leading signal routing options. Now, the name of this product, the Quad Cortex, is sort of a clue to its kind of main USP, and that is that you can have 4 parallel signal chains running on this thing simultaneously. So potentially you could have 4 different instruments running into this thing, each with their own effects chains, each with their own outputs. I doubt there are many people out there actually doing that, because if you're a 3 or 4 piece band, you really aren't going to want to trust your single point of failure as this small modeling product. But anyway, what I can say is having all of that together with top drawer I/O, plenty of effects loops, XLR in out, MIDI in and out, what you can do with that is you can create just basically any type of signal chain you can imagine. So if you can come up with an idea of doing a wet dry rig with a parallel signal chain, you can do it on this unit really quite easily. This is only the 2nd or 3rd modeling product I have ever tried that enables me to create a proper Devin Townsend style wet dry ambient signal chain. honourable mentions have to go as well to the tuner. This is one of the best tuners I have used. The graphical UI on it is unique. It's not a bubble type tuner, it's not a sine wave type tuner, but the way they've chosen to do it and the way that it shows you in real time how many cents you are in or out of your desired tuning is fantastic. Responsiveness, brilliant. I had absolutely no issues tuning my 7-string guitar on this thing, tuned to drop A, which can sometimes stump even the best of tuners. The newly released Cortex Control desktop software, I also have to say, is brilliant. Again, it's just as good as anything else I've used and probably a little bit nicer looking in terms of UI. Certainly it beats out the Kemper software, it beats out the Line 6 Helix software that I've spent a lot of time using. And finally, as a nice little cherry on top, by spending the extra money, you get a unit filled with the usual factory presets. But I have to say, 90% of these factory presets actually sound really good. And those of you who view the channel regularly will know that I'm of the opinion that when you buy a brand new modeling product, you are probably going to end up throwing away virtually all of the factory presets because for some reason they just always sound terrible. When I first received this unit and I was just having a noodle and scrolling through some of the factory presets, most of the ones I tried sounded great just out of the box. So big thumbs up to Neural for that. Now before we move on to some of the kind of negatives I've identified with this product, you probably want to know my opinion on just the amp modeling in general. And I have to say that this thing sounds as good as anything I've tried. I'm kind of the opinion that the Kemper is still like the best thing I've played through that isn't a real amp. Just in terms of pure sound, I know the Kemper has many other downsides to it. And I have to say that this Quad Cortex, I've tried the majority of the amp models that come factory in it. I've downloaded a bunch of different amp captures, just free ones off of Cortex Cloud. And I'm really pleased to report that the overall amp modeling in this is as good as anything I've played through. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with the quality of the amp modeling you're getting. The built-in effects, there's a reasonably good selection. I would probably like to see a few more ambient reverb type effects in there. That would be nice to see, but I don't really think you're going to be left feeling shortchanged. There's a good amount of drive pedals in there, a good amount of delays and reverbs, the usual modulation effects that you would expect are on an amp modeling unit. One other thing to note is amp capturing or amp profiling. This is a modeling product that can capture real amplifiers and make copies of them just like a Kemper can to use later. Now, amp profiling, amp capturing, that is like an entire video in itself. And quite honestly, I have never captured an amp. I've never profiled an amp despite being a long-time Kemper user and a recent user of the Headrush core. I simply just have no desire to do it. There are other people out there who can do a fantastic job of profiling amplifiers. What I would suggest is if you really want to go in depth on capturing an amp with this unit, how good of a job it does, please check out my friends over at Tone Wars. Jared is doing a fantastic job reviewing real amplifiers and also reviewing how well this new generation of modeling products can capture them. Absolutely go and check out his content. He's doing a brilliant job and he has many videos on the process of capturing amplifiers with the Quad Cortex. The only thing I did notice is that with the amp captures I downloaded, maybe this was just luck of the draw, but they all seem to have a slightly muffled quality to them, just like there was a little bit too much of a heavy low pass filter on them. But these are free amp captures made by God knows who, so I'm not going to hold that against this unit because it simply could have just been luck of the draw. As I said at the start of this video, the quality of the amp captures you get on one of these modeling units is so dependent on the person who made it, the quality of the kit that they were using, the microphones, there's so many variables. all the kind of value-added things you're going to be getting with the Quad Cortex by spending that extra chunk of money. Now, how important are those things? Well, that's going to depend on you, your needs as a player. Do you need those extra flexible signal routing options? Do you need the deep cabinet customization that is like incredibly flexible yet also quite usable? That's going to be up to you. Now, what you are probably wondering is what are the kind of negatives and the downsides and the things that I feel like probably should be addressed for the price point they're asking? Well, first of all, I'm going to have just a little bit of a moan about the physical unit itself. First of all, the touch screen. I was actually a little bit disappointed when I first pulled this unit out of the box and I fired it up at the resolution of the touch screen. It's actually fairly low res for the price point. It's fairly low refresh rate. Unfortunately, the first thing I noticed when I fired this up is, wow, I'm back to looking at visible pixels again on a touchscreen. Those of you who will remember some of the early iPhones many years ago, you know, when you're reading text, like you often are on this unit, there's like visible jaggies, visible pixels on each of them. So that did surprise me for a top class unit asking top class money. What I could say in defense of the touchscreen is it's extremely bright. When you crank this thing to max brightness, wow, it's like gonna give you a tan if you get your face too close to it. So in terms of being on stage, you're gonna have no issues at all with visibility, so that's good. But the screen itself, it feels a little bit janky and low refresh rate when you're dragging things around. The resolution is really not what it should be at this price point, in my opinion. Equally, those fantastic rotary encoder foot switches that I told you about a minute ago, they are just far too close together. It's brilliant that they give you 10 of them. That's certainly better than any other modeling product at this size, but I've got size 11 feet. Would I trust my ability to be able to hit one of those accurately on a dark stage at a gig? No way. I don't even think I could press the top row on its own with shoes on. So in my opinion, there really could do with being less foot switches on this thing, if anything, because they're just miles too close together. Overall, I was actually surprised at how small this unit is as a whole. Here is a kind of typically large size smartphone next to the unit to sort of give you a comparison, and here is this unit next to what is probably its closest competitor form factor wise, which is the Headrush Core. So the fact this thing is small, again, that's going to be up to you whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. At least you know it will fit on most pedal boards. There are also some usability quirks of this product that again surprised me for the money, and in my opinion this is something that really should be addressed for what they're asking for this. I was under the impression, for whatever reason, that you could operate this unit from the touchscreen, from the unit itself, and if you wanted to, you would never have to use an app or a desktop editor to enjoy its full functionality. That is, at the time of making this video, unfortunately not true. In order to download shared presets from other people or download amp captures from other people, you have to use the mobile app. That is currently the only way to get other people's presets and captures onto this unit. There is no way to do it directly from the unit itself currently. The newly launched Cortex Control desktop software also has no way of doing this, which I think is bizarre. Because the Cortex Control software otherwise is superb, does everything else in terms of editing presets, all that type of thing. I don't really understand why we have to use a standalone app just to manage and share and download presets and captures. That seems like quite a small feature in terms of what else this thing's capable of. There's a massive amount of DSP in this unit, there has to be, in order for it to enable 4 simultaneous signal paths. So I have to think that technically it's capable of doing everything from the unit itself. For whatever reason, I guess there's a software limitation. It's just a feature that it didn't ship with, and it's clearly something that 3 years after launch they're not prioritizing. Just on a personal note, one of my joys after an extremely hard day working and the stresses of life, I like to sit on my living room sofa and just have a noodle using a little modeling unit. Recently, I've been doing this with the Headrush Core, and one of the things that I really like about that product and why I gave it such a positive review is that you can do everything that unit is capable of from the unit itself. You can log on to Headrush Cloud, you can share your presets from there, you can download your presets all directly from the touch screen. I would really like to see this unit do the same thing and be capable of the same thing, especially for the price point they're asking. There has been a marketing image doing the rounds from neuraldsp showing a desktop PC, a tablet and a smartphone with the Quad Cortex interface on it. And probably due to that, before I took delivery of this unit for review, I was under the impression that I was able to edit presets and control the effects blocks on this thing from a mobile app. Now, whilst you can do that from the Cortex Control desktop software, which you have to use by the normal method of like plugging in a USB cable to your computer and all that type of thing, there currently is no mobile app that enables you to edit or create presets or control really any parameters on this thing. As I said, the mobile app is just there for sharing and managing presets and captures. Now, considering that I have just reviewed 2 weeks ago the Kemper Player, which has a mobile app that enables you to edit, build presets, all that type of thing on it, I sort of think that should be something that should be there for this price point, for 1,500 quid, for something that markets itself as the most advanced amp modeler, the most powerful amp modeler in the world. I really hope that Cortex Control Desktop is also going to become Cortex Control Mobile at some point. You could argue that this is sort of nitpicky considering how many other things this unit does, and I'm not taking anything away from how powerful this thing is and how comprehensive the feature set is otherwise. It's just a surprising omission when I've reviewed modeling products as cheap as 400 quid that have a functioning mobile editor. Like, for example, the Boss GX100. Yeah, it was a bit laggy and it had some issues, but other than that, it worked flawlessly. Now, finally, I'm going to touch on the real kind of hot topic with this product, and that is using neuraldsp's plugins on the Quad Cortex. Now, when this unit was announced, neuraldsp said that at some point you will be able to use your suite of neuraldsp plugins on the Quad Cortex, and everybody was like, oh my god, shut up and take my money, and pre-ordered these things in their droves. In the process of making this review, and before I filmed any footage, I put a post up on the neuraldsp subreddit because I wanted to speak to some people who had actually purchased this unit with their own money and just confirm some of the limitations I had found and just make sure I wasn't missing anything. So big thank you to the people in the neuraldsp subreddit who were really helpful with information and sort of gave their experiences and the limitations they found so far. What they told me in that subreddit was that, the same as I found, no plugins currently work on this unit. neuraldsp have been promising their user community that the problem is strictly a software one and they are working on it, but look, I have to say, the fact that it's over 3 years since launch, there's not a single neuraldsp plugin at the time of making this video that works on this unit, that's pretty disappointing. Especially considering that it was one of the key USPs this thing was launched with. Now, before those members of the neuraldsp Reddit get their pitchforks out and tell me it's coming soon, and Neural have released a press release saying that Plini X is going to be working on this thing any day now, let me offer a thought. I don't think that using neuraldsp's plugins on this thing is really that important a feature. I actually think that who cares that the plugins don't work on this thing? Because if I'm spending 1,500 quid on a top class modeling unit, I want the thing to be fantastic, and I want it to do all the things that I want from a modeling unit on its own. What I don't want is to then spend another 100 quid on a plugin that then loads into this thing just to get the sound I want. Do you see what I'm kind of getting at here? Like, I think that they've made that promise to get plugins on this thing, and they really should fulfill that promise, and probably should have fulfilled it by now. But I don't think it's that important. I really think that what Neural have done so far is them on the right track, which is them focusing on getting this thing right, adding features to it that people want, such as the desktop editor, that type of thing. I think using plugins on this unit is just like an added bonus. I don't know, that's just my personal opinion on the kind of plugin situation with this unit. They should definitely deliver it, but if they don't deliver it for a while, I mean, does it really matter that much? Especially since you can download amp captures of whatever amplifier you want on this thing, really. So that is my conclusion on, is the neuraldsp Quad Cortex currently worth the money? If you've enjoyed the sound of any of the presets I've been playing through in this video, search me out on Cortex Cloud. I am under Chill Guitar Reviews, and they are all available for free download for you if you are a Quad Cortex user. If you have disagreed with anything I have said, or you have had a different experience with the Quad Cortex, I would love to hear it, and I always enjoy talking to you guys in the comments and having a healthy discussion, so do let me know. Also, if you're this far in the video, you must have enjoyed it on some level, so please do chuck me a subscribe and like the video, because it really helps me with the algorithm gods, and it really encourages me to keep grinding away producing content for you. Better yet, you can support me via the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you to everybody who has supported me via that link so far. Any type of financial support, no matter how small it is greatly received, so thank you for that. Until the next chilled review, do take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.